as we do have words that kind of fit. If you can, make a better one, send it in, and that'll be fun, because we'll use it, get everyone laughing, because this one is embarrassing. TJ, I thought you could dance at this bit.
No.
TJ, are you dancing?
No, I'm not.
So come along and watch us code, make some stuff, and help you know that not much rhymes with draft will make game for a laugh.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
I am Adam.
And I'm TJ.
And we're going to make a game today. Well,
a game?
1/3 of a game. And we're using ClickTeam Fusion, available from clickteam.com for you to download for free. We use it because it's nice and simple, and then you can put your games on websites, and you can play them on Windows, and also you can put them as apps, but that's a little bit complicated and annoying. But we do it. Good, right.
Push through all the stress, which takes us on to the topic.
Oh, TJ, this yes, stress. Yeah. Now we did a game about anger, and I was like, "Oh, did we do one about stress?" But we did about anger, and those two things can sometimes get confused or linked, or they're very similar. One leads to the other. But how would you describe stress, TJ? As I set up a new application.
How would I describe stress?
Go on.
It's a bit overwhelming, isn't it? It's the kind of feel when things have got too much, and it's when you're stressed, it's kind of your outlet. It's how it makes you feel, and then when you act stressed, it's kind of you reacting to things going wrong or not the way you want.
Yep. And once again, I think last time I said that I get angry when I'm on a tight time scale. And things are going wrong, but I think I probably should have used stress. Stress is, again, it's all about this being pressured for time, isn't it? All about this. This is why holidays are amazing. Well, unless you go with 2 sets of families, but it's just why holidays are amazing, because you have all this time available to you. So maybe we should have that as a factor in the game, that the better you do, the more time you have, but the worse you do will have time penalties in it. We've made loads of different types of games. We made a platformy, arcade style game last week with the sloth, and we did a stacking game with priorities and stuff like that. I thought we'd go with a slightly fruit ninja style game today. So I'm going to shove in some active objects. And shall we just say hello to the world of Facebook Live out there? We shall. Hello.
So I'm going to make sure everything... There we go. I've got everything I need to see right in front of me.
That's beautiful. If you please comment, TJ will be scouring the comments. I will be adding to the game. And so what I'm going to do, first of all, is when we create a game like this, where in Fruit Ninja you have different objects flying up, and then you have to slice them. Now, majority of them are good. So I'm going to create a group. It's called a qualifier in ClickTeam Fusion for them. So I'm going to, in my qualifier, there is, in fact, a fruit one called good. So I think I'm just going to use it. Now, the qualifiers are just that. They are just a group. They mean nothing. Just because I tell it it's good, the computer knows nothing. It doesn't know what to do with it, how to behave. But I'll put it in that group, and when I add the rules into the game, that's when the computer will learn, this group does this. So, it doesn't really learn, it just gets told. So I'm going to just call this fruit 1. It doesn't have to be fruit. In fact, I recommend we don't use fruit. So in this game, there'll be lots of things flying up, and you'll have to click on or slice ones that you want and leave ones that you don't. So I would like to ask the question to you. You. Yeah, you watching. I know. Yeah, you. Yeah, yes, you. No, not you. Yeah, you. I want to ask you, what situation? Is it going to be to do with somebody in an office and there's stuff they have to deal with flying up? Is it to be... what stresses you out? Is it going to be like loads of kids on a bouncy castle, and then some teenagers get on, and you have to sort of like knock off the teenagers, push off the teenagers off the bouncy castle, but keep the kids? What kind of stressful situation could it be? So I'm going to open up the world and not call it fruit. I'm just going to call it item 1. And it's good not to copy a game totally. We don't like that impact gamers, do we, TJ? If we copy something completely.
try and keep things always keep things copyright free, but we try and change things to make it a bit more unique, even if we've taken inspiration from a different game.
I'm going to set this as a physics bouncing ball movement, and it tells me, please insert a physics engine object into the game. And then it also tells me that the hotspot needs to be in the center for physics to work correctly. So those two things, the physics engine, it's just the rules for the world. It's just what gravity is, what direction it is. And then for the object, if you click twice, the hotspot is it in the center? Press G. No, it was out by pixel. Look at that. And so it was just one out, but the G puts it in the gravitational center. There we go. So we now have this item, and I have some just below me down there, initial directions. And so in Fruit Ninja, the items come from the bottom, and we'll stick to that standard because that works quite well, because they go up, gravity takes effect, they slow down, and then they fall. So they go up and down. And so what we'll do is we'll say that it needs to start off in an upwards motion. So I'm only going to tick the directions that are upwards. So then if I start my game, if I run my application being a fancy word for app, there we go, it goes up and comes down, goes up, comes down. I'm just resetting F2 there, it's a shortcut. Oh. TJ, what do I mean by a shortcut?
So in Click Team, there are different combinations of buttons you can press which do an action without you actually having to go into like a set option and like go to the top of screen and press something. You can press a button and it will do that action for you. It's a lot quicker to do it that way.
And in Windows applications, in their programs, they often write what the shortcut button is just at the very top, just next to it. So there's lots of things, and you'll see that every time I insert a new object, I could press Control and J, and you'll see me press Control by that was Alt. See me press Control. I know where Control is because it appears on the little mouse cursor that I've got there. And then so if I press Control and J now, it will load it up. I also can do other shortcuts like double click and they come up. So I've increased the initial, meaning the initial speed. So we've got the initial direction, got the initial speed, and I'm quite happy with that. To be honest. So so it's going in a random direction, and I'm quite happy with that. So the next thing I probably need to do is add in some kind of score, and we said we'd work with a time limit here. So with games, you can have a time limit, you can have a score, you could just have a score, or you could just have a time limit. So because the game that we're making, you probably want to see how well you do, we'll do both. So we're going to add in something called a counter. And the counter just shows a number. But it's going to start high and then go low. So we need to set in its properties, in its settings, its initial value. Once again, initials. All about initials this game. So initial value, the value it starts off with. 60 seconds, TJ?
Yeah, try that first.
Okay. And so this is our event editor. This is where all the rules happen in the game. It's shown by this little grid. And that's because all the rules in Clicked Infusion build up in a grid. Normally when we do computer coding, like pure computer coding, will be lines of code. Whereas this is a grid, which they're lines, still lines, but instead of having writing in them, we put a tick in what we want to affect. So a new condition, what we want to check for. We want to check for the time and every. We've got a choice between hours, minutes, and seconds, and seconds is fine, so we'll leave it on 1 second. So every 1 second, we want this counter to subtract. So just subtract a value and take off 1. Now if we run the application, we will see in the corner, counting down. Great, good. And I said we're also going to have a score. Now, Clicked Infusion has a special counter for score, and that is called, dun dun dun, score.
Score.
Yeah, score. That's it. That's it, score. Now, as you may notice, they look very similar. My counter, which I'll refer to as time. I just used a shortcut there. I used F2 to change its name. So you can see it's just rename. F2 is a shortcut. And that's a shortcut for Windows. Windows uses F2 to rename things. And score is fine. I'll leave it like that. But they look the same. So I double click on it. and get up this score window. I could have pressed enter because that's another shortcut to edit, or I could right click and press edit. I could do any of those. So anyway, I need to choose font, which is type of style of writing. If it's a score, let's make it a positive color, green maybe. Import font. Let's set it a bit bigger than the time. And there we go. There is our score, which starts off in 0. Now, we need to work out what we've got here, whether we're clicking on the object or slicing the object. Have we had any ideas, TJ? Have you had any ideas of what we could have as our item that's stressing us out? People on a trampoline, people like a kids' party going wrong, or an office-based situation.
Could have it like you've got a platform.
Yeah.
And if it's like physics based, it's like trying to keep it in the air. So it's like an item you've dropped and you're trying to.
So you don't want. Okay, so we're going to try and stop it from leaving the sides, maybe. So if they're jumping off the sides, we need to hit it back in.
Or even the ground or sides, yeah, it could work.
Okay. So do we want to have a bat that we're using, like a kind of Pong style thing that we move an angle in order to knock things back in, or do we want to just flick the items? What do you want to do for this one?
Ooh, it'd be a lot more challenging if the platform was physics based, so it moved depending on how you hit it.
Yeah.
But that would be very tricky. So
well, let's go for it. Let's see if we can make it simply, and if we can't, we can always revert back. So I'm just going to call this a bat. I'm going to make sure that it's there. Now, what I think I'll do is I will start to do some calculations with the cursor. The cursor, TJ, what's the cursor?
So the cursor is the mouse.
Yep, it's the pointer on the screen. It's the little arrow, which sometimes changes to a different shaped arrow. Or can I do it? Yep, different shaped arrow. So yeah, there's lots of different cursors you get for different things. There's a move cursor, there's the standard pointer, and the resize cursor, but it's just the arrows on the screen. So I'm going to make this physics, so it's in the physics world, static. Make sure things are in the center. Press that G. Yep, now it is. And I'm going to also turn gravity off for it because we don't want it falling downwards. Okay. So I'm going to say that we always set the position of that to be, I haven't got an object for our cursor, but I have got coordinates for it. Coordinates being just the measurement of left and right. So we've got X for left and right and Y for up and down. So we can set the X coordinate to be the X position of the mouse, and set the Y coordinate to be the Y position of the mouse, which is a little bit of it writes a little variable, which is a word which represents a number called Y mouse. Okay, so now that's always going to follow us. So if we do this, we should be able to move around the screen. Okay, and it moves. Good. There we go. That's fine. We might also want to, at the start of the very beginning of the game, start the frame, hide mouse pointer. Now pointer is another word for
cursor.
There we go. Pointer, cursor, mouse. If someone says any of those, the only thing is you can't actually with the cursor. It's on the screen. So if someone says you need to plug in your cursor, they've obviously gone mad. You can plug in a mouse to the computer to move the cursor. You can move your mouse that moves the cursor, and you use the cursor to click on things, and you press the button on the mouse to cause the cursor to click on things. So it's just the cursor is what's on the screen. The mouse is what's in your hand. Or I can't let them. My wire's too short. That's it. Right. So we'll hide it. Now I want to work on this angle thing. So I want to possibly say that we move the mouse, but if we click, then we rotate the cursor. So I'm going to add in another object, kind of like a fake cursor. So this object here, I'm just going to color it a bright color because it's going to be invisible, and I want to just make sure that I know what it is in the game. So I'm just going to make it bright orange here. We're going to call this last cursor place. Now this last cursor place, we want it to follow the mouse as well, so I'm just going to put it there. But we now want it only when we're not clicking, because when we click we want to rotate. So always we'll replace that with when the mouse, repeat while the mouse key, it means mouse button is pressed, left button. Now that left button is the normal one we click with. So while we're clicking, move. No. Negate, which means not. While the mouse, do the opposite. If the mouse isn't being pressed, then move. So now I should have a thing where I can, which does make me believe I actually don't need the cursor anymore. So I click and hold. I don't need that cursor. It's all a lie. I can use the actual block itself. Let me just get rid of that. Now I've got a warning here. Dun, dun, dun. The events associated with the objects you want to delete are going to be deleted too. Undoing this command will restore these events. Are you sure you want to delete the selected events? That's saying we delete this, we're going to delete some code. And the code will never ever come back. Ever. No. Ever. So, but it's alright. It's fine. We'll deal with it. So if we're clicking, the bat won't follow us. So I'm just going to copy and paste this rule and negate it again. Negating a negate makes it disappear. So now when we are clicking, we don't want to set the position. We want to set this angle. So, or just under TJ. Sorry, just move your TJ. Under the angle, or we still can't see TJ, move a bit further. Under the angle, we want to set the angle to be an angle of a vector, which is a posh way of saying an angle between two things. So angle of a vector under position here. Oh, TJ, just sort yourself out. Position, angle. It's not even. I can't even fit it on screen. Angle of a vector is right at the bottom of the position list. There we go. Angle of a vector. And then it's now got this little calculation here. It wants to know what we're comparing it to. Well, compare it to the mouse and compare it to the mouse's X and Y position. There we go. And do we want to use speed or quality? Well, I'm all for speed and not for quality, as everyone who knows me knows. So let's run the application, and I will. If I click, there we go. You can see I can rotate the bat round when I click, and it will remain in that rotation until I let go of the click. That's a okay mechanic. We answered this a couple of videos ago, but what's a game mechanic, TJ?
So a game mechanic is a function in how something works in a game. For example, having health, like with lives, is a mechanic. So it goes by the amount of times you've been hit rather than having an amount of health. So that is a mechanic in a game. Having physics in a game is a mechanic. It's like an element of the game. Right.
Well, thank you, TJ. I've just realised that my bat isn't very strong.
You spin me.
So I try and hit things away, but like unless I get them dead center, my bat is useless. So I'm going to see if the density affects it, and the density is how much material is packed inside something. Like a bowling ball is very high density, and a balloon is very low density, meaning that if you drop a bowling ball into the swimming pool, it will go downwards, whereas a balloon will float on top, even though they might be the same size. So if I've upped my density, that was better. Look at that. That was much better there. Okay, but it's still rotating a bit, so I probably need to set the density to something hideously large. Let's set it to 100,000 and see how well that works. There's loads of trial and error. Yeah, that's much better. Oops, there's loads of trial and error with using physics. Oops. There we go. Okay, that's kind of working. It kind of drops out a bit. I can't push it because the bat is moving. The bat is not moving. The speed of my bat is 0. It's teleporting to wherever the mouse is. So because it's teleporting in a smooth way, it seems like it's moving, but all it is it's just following this command to teleport to where the mouse is. So I'm not getting great physics collisions when I hit it multiple times, but it's still okay. I think we can work with that. As long as it moves away from it first, then you can. There we go. Great. Okay, so we've got some nice mechanics there. Now
Nice.
I'm going to add a second item in, and so I'm just going to clone this item. And because I've named it item 1, the next one is named item 2. There we go. And so it's quite a neat thing to do to call the things that you're using lots of the name, so that when they're sorted into alphabetical order, they're in order, and then the number just helps you distinguish. So item 2 is going to be a bit bigger. And because it's bigger, it's not going to move as far because it's got more material in it. So I can either lower its density to sort that out, or I can up its initial speed. So I'll do that. I'll make it 120. So now, oops, that was straight off. I tell you what, 120 was a bit much for that. And if you notice, it's not colliding. It's the first bug of the game. Now this item 2, if we have a look at it, if we click here, it has nothing associated, no rules to do with it, nothing to do with it. And so that's the reason. I've put all of the rules not in the group, as I should have done. I put them on the item. So a quick way to fix that is I'm going to replace this with the group. And once again, this action cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to continue? Might be a good time to save your game at this point. If you press no, save it, and then do it. But yeah, I'm sure. So now, anything in that group, it's just put that rule and tidy up my items like that. All right, I'll make sure I'm going to save this as stress. And also save it in the right place. Now, TJ, do you have a chocolate challenge question?
I was going to start off the week quite simple and I just want an example of something that really stresses you out.
What really stresses you out, TJ?
Ooh. Do you know what? Sound? If I get quite overwhelmed with lots of different sounds. So if I'm in a place and there's lots of different sounds going on at the same time, that really overwhelms me. I get very stressed.
Yep, that sounds like a common one. Yeah. What stresses me out? Yeah, other people being stressed. I tell you what, it triggers me immediately. It only takes one of my kids to go to shout at one of the other kids, and then I'm shouting at them. I tell you what, it's just If someone's but yeah, I think my family stresses me out a bit more than most people. I used to work in like TJ, and I used to work in a school for kids who were struggling in normal school and had lots of behaviour difficulties. We both worked in places like that. We're quite calm people, and they would stress out all the time, and we'd need to be calm to calm them down. Did that for about 8 years, but with my own kids, I just don't have the skills. Don't have the skills. So we're getting into decide a bit more of the mechanics of the game. So we've got items that are okay to touch. Now we probably want items that are bad to touch. So I'm just going to create a new object. Or I'll just clone this one. I'll clone it, but I'll rename it. Rather than item 1, it can be called bad 1. And it's in the wrong group now because it's grouped as a good object. So I'm going to edit that. I'm going to delete it out that, and I'm going to put it in the bad. But bad, unfortunately, looks so similar to good, if just an apple with a worm in it, that I'm not going to bother. I'll do enemies because that's a bit more clear. So I'll put it in enemies because when I'm looking at my little bits of code here, and if I'm zoomed to normal, that's how I normally see it, nice and teeny tiny. I want to see an apple and lightning. It's nice and clear. So I'm going to leave it as lightning. So a collision between me and lightning, or lightning and I, if I want to use correct grammar. If I hit an enemy, I want to lose some time. That's what we said. So we still want it to stop, but we want time to decrease. So subtract from counter. 10 seconds seems fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops. Now the thing is, I can't tell what's good and bad, which is probably a life lesson in itself. But for a game, it's awful. It's really bad if you can't tell the difference between a good object and a bad object. One way to really annoy your players. So I use a colour, represent it with red. And there we go. All right. Wait a minute. There's another bug in the game. I think people might have spotted it.
Not another bug.
Yeah, it's a similar thing. When we hit lightning, then make the good things stop. No, make the lightning stop. So I'll just move it across and delete that one. I put it in the wrong column, and that is majority of the problems in clicked infusion is you put it in the wrong place. There we go. That bug is now... Oh, wait a minute, that way. Fixed. Right, so we've got moving objects. I'm able to deplete time. There we go. Time is up. So I'll need to add like a warning or a siren or something like that. We also have this issue that you can see I can get things to bounce without touching them. That is their collision shape. So under their movement, it says their collision shape's a circle. I'm just going to change it to the shape of the first image, which means that if you've got something animated, it's not great. But if you have got something that's static, like me, as in stays the same, then it means that we can get much better collisions. Oh, look at that, that's much better collisions. Although I am bouncing with the wrong thing. Whoop. So, also, I'm finding that gravity is not my friend here. They're falling so quickly that I don't think I can control things. So I'm going to set the gravity in the game to be maybe 6 rather than 10. And then with that, all of these guys here, their speeds will now actually be too great. So I'm going to drop their speeds down as well. And it's a really good idea, before you add lots of objects into your game, is to get your gravity right with 1 or 2 objects. Because if I had 80 objects in, it would be a right nightmare. So there we go. Oh, look at that. That was still too much for... Here he goes. Whee! Perfect. That gives me loads more time. Is that guy going to come down? Whoops. Oh, dear. Oh, we do have an interesting issue that if I let go of rotating it, it will teleport to where I ended up. That's interesting. Can I force the mouse to go somewhere? Interesting. Can I do that? I don't think I can. All I can do is hide it. Okay, so my final bit of this game is to use some clever jiggery pokery to mean that I don't get this teleport option that I've currently got, meaning that I click, it rotates, and I let go and it pings to where I was. So to solve that, I can't use the mouse cursor. I can't control the mouse cursor. Windows controls the mouse cursor. But what I can do is I can make a fake mouse cursor, which is almost what I made earlier. So I'm adding it back in. Here we go, fake cursor. Now this fake cursor, we will just color it in a color. And we will say that when you're... Oh, it's still going to teleport, but the fake cursor will teleport. And even if we got it to minus, what happened? This rotation thing might lead to teleportation. So we've got a choice. It's either a bug in the game or we call it a feature. There's a classic games maker.
That happens quite often.
Yep. And so there's some games where something the developers get wrong, the programmers get wrong, but people go, that actually works out quite cool. Do you have any to mind, TJ?
Yeah, so Devil May Cry, the fact that when you jump and start attacking, you stay in air and do like an air combo, that was originally a glitch, and they decided it looked that awesome, they kept it in the game.
Cool. Okay, well, we'll use it as a feature then, that you can teleport from one side to the other in order to do that. So it just encourages people to spin around on the spot in order to solve that. Great.
Awesome.
Good.
I think one of the more famous ones, and I don't know if it's 100% true, but Mario's mustache, I believe, actually started as a glitch.
Oh yeah, it's just like a pixel that was out. Very good. Okay, so that's time for us, I suppose. We will save this as our stress game. So if you could comment on the video about what kind of objects we're trying to keep in and other ones that we're going to knock out in this stressful situation, that'd be great. TJ will have a look through the comments when they're there in terms of choosing someone for the chocolate challenge. So what thing stresses you out? And then you can privately message us your address and we will post it off to you. Good. Well, we started our game. Hope you have a lovely day. TJ, do you have any wise words?
Try not to get stressed, and if you answer with a stressful situation, you might win some chocolate, which can help de-stress you.
Very good. So next time you're in a stressful situation, send us a message. It could win you some chocolate. See you guys. Bye-bye. This is the intro we did for the show, but we're not musical, as you may know. So we'll keep it just for a bit, as we do have words that kind of fit. If you can, make a better one, send it in, and that'll be fun, because we'll use it, get everyone laughing, because this one is embarrassing. TJ, I thought you could dance at this bit.
No.
TJ, are you dancing?
No, I'm not.
So come along and watch us code, make some stuff, and help you know that not much rhymes with draft will make game for a laugh.
Yeah.